But first, the death of WWE Hall of Famer Soulman Rocky Johnson at the age of 75. Former WWE Tag Team Champion with Tony Atlas as the Soul Patrol, the first black tag team in the company to win those titles. He was one of the biggest names of the 70s and the early 80s. Father of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. That's how a lot of people are going to identify him, especially if you're younger, if you are a Rock fan. You, I'm sure, know all about his parents because he's constantly either tweeting about them or talking about them on Instagram. And so that is unfortunately what we have to lead off with here. He had been sick with flu-like symptoms the last couple of weeks. He had otherwise been, to my knowledge, in fine health, but the last couple of weeks were kind of rough. And friends were telling him to go to the hospital, get it checked out. Yeah, because look, if you think that somebody has the flu and it's really bad, or pneumonia, especially if you're an older person, 75 is not super old, but you're at a stage in your life where you really need to be careful with that kind of stuff and have that checked out. People far younger than 75 have had to go into the hospital and have died, have passed away from stuff like that. So there was a fear that maybe it was something like that. Go get it checked out. He did not see a doctor. He died unexpectedly. Brian Blair of the Cauliflower Alley Club, who is a good friend of his, said that the cause of death was a blood clot that traveled from Rocky's leg to his lungs, and that he died of natural causes. I don't know where he got that information from, but I assume he wouldn't speak out of turn like that unless he had some knowledge of what had happened. So according to him, it was a blood clot that traveled and caused his death. He wrestled for the NWA title in the 70s. He wrestled a whole bunch of big names. He wrestled Jerry Lawler in Memphis, all before coming to WWE in 1982. By that point, when I started watching the product in the mid-'80s, he had just left the company. So I had just missed that whole Rocky Johnson era in WWE. So a lot of the work that I've seen of his, and of course the tag team title win over the Wild Samoans, that was all years later after the fact. And now, of course, on the network and YouTube, you can find all kinds of Rocky Johnson matches in and out of WWE. But he was far from just a tag team wrestler. He wrestled Fred Blassie, Lawler, I mentioned, Terry Funk, Harley Race, a lot of big names, and had a lot of success in doing so before landing in WWE. Agile for a big guy. He's solid 250, 260 probably. Moved around like a featherweight. Known for having one of the best drop kicks in the business. He had just come out with a book in September about his life and his career called Soulman: The Rocky Johnson Story. Scott Teal helped him write the book. And apparently they had some kind of falling out recently that was said to be really bad. And I don't know what the nature of the disagreement was, but the book got pulled. So if you go to the Amazon page for it, which if you Google it, you'll see links to various pages. But on Amazon, for example, if you go to the page for the book, it tells you that the book is now out of print, has limited availability, and it is out of print. They had an audiobook version on Audible. That has been pulled, so I don't know what happened, but whatever happened was obviously not good. There is one cool story that The Rock shared on his Instagram last year about buying his father a house. He has since commented on it on his Instagram. He wrote this long passage about his dad. I'm not going to read the whole thing. You can find it on there yourself. It was very nice. It was very touching. But last year on his Instagram, he posted a video. He was sitting in his car, and he was sharing a story about buying his father a house. This wasn't even a full year ago that this happened. And you could tell watching that video, The Rock, he was just beaming with pride over it when you watch it back. He said he just called his father out of the blue one day, and he said, "Look, I want to buy you a house. Wherever you want to live, you can live." And his dad had never asked him for anything. I don't know if it was a pride thing or whatever. So he just felt like he wanted to do something special for him. He was not going to take no for an answer. I'm buying you a house. You pick the place. You tell me where you want to go. And I guess his father was mulling it over or whatever. 2 weeks later, he gets a phone call. And it's his dad. And he tells Dwayne that he's getting ready to go look at properties this weekend. And he's telling him, he goes, I'm so nervous. He's excited, but he's nervous. And The Rock just says, what the hell are you nervous about? And his dad goes, no one ever called me to tell me that they were going to buy me a house before. And the fact that it's my own son, he says, I'm so proud of you and I love you so much. And Rock said he never heard his father talk like that before. He said his father used to beat his ass as a kid and he hated it. And now looking back on it, he's so grateful that he did. And the fact that he got to share that kind of moment with his dad last year, not knowing that he wouldn't even be here a year later. I mean, how many people listening to this have lost someone that they love, lost a parent, and wishes that you could have said something to them before they died, but never had the chance to? I'm sure there's a lot of people out there, a lot of people listening to this right now. And maybe it's not a family member or a parent. Maybe it's a loved one of some kind, a friend. I'm sure there's a lot of people listening to this right now who can relate to that kind of experience. And Rock got that chance. And I know he must feel like shit right now, but that's something that he could take with him forever.